would come off of Archer Street, coming up Elgin and like that. Why, they would shoot and they killed quite a few white people.
That's an interesting point, that we believe there are more whites who were killed than the record books show, because these men, like her husband, Lynn Holderness, who were under siege at Mount Zion Baptist Church, were heavily armed, and they did shoot those whites who came just down the street in the open, coming to try to get them out of Mount Zion. They mowed down those whites. So we think that there's been a cover-up also of the number of white dead, because as she's saying, there were 2 or 3 assaults on Mount Zion. We know that for a fact. We have eyewitness accounts of that. So those whites were just mown down as they tried to come out in the open and try to take over Mount Zion. Eventually they did. They were able to do it. And we have the records on the last accounts of some of the black men who were holed up at Mount Zion trying to hold off. But eventually they came out with their arms up, and some were shot dead even though they had surrendered. But that is an interesting story that we're looking for. And this is one of the few survivors' accounts, or she was married to one of the persons, that does talk about that Mount Zion siege.
Yeah.
And you say he told you that there were more whites killed than the papers let on.
Well, there were a lot of whites killed, and of course they tried to keep that from the public. But there were a few Negroes who worked for these wealthy white people, like Skelly, rich white people and things. And they lived in quarters, they called, in the backyard of these big houses. They had a garage on one side and what they call quarters, a bedroom and kitchen and bath and things, where the women who worked there, cooks and housekeepers and things, they lived in those what they call quarters. And it was kind of, some of them were, nice to them all, but they didn't pay people much, $7 and $10 a week, like that. And the women who worked there did the cooking, most of them, and the housekeeping, and took care of the babies and whatnot. And at night, a lot of time after they taking care of the babies all day and whatnot, and cook and go out to their quarters sometime, maybe 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and then they'd have to take the babies out there and keep them all night, 'cause the babies would cry to go with the women who had been taking care of them through the day. And of course that was an excuse for them, the mothers, to get rid of the babies at night.
That is fascinating, and many of the survivors of the riot have told me about how they were hidden in those quarters. Sometimes the boss drove down right through the riot and picked up, they knew that North Tulsa was under siege, and they took them to those quarters. So that's interesting, that the way you have described the quarters, and that is very helpful.
Some of them were kind.
Yes, yes. Now back to the property. Was Cousin Lynn's family's house burned down there on Greenwood? Of course, all Greenwood was burned. So they lost their home, did they? Okay. Did they lose anything else? Did they have a car or anything of value? Car, jewelry, clothing? They lost everything, did they?
They lost everything. They said they came in houses and set fire. First, they took out their, like, people had silverware, and some few of them had nice china dishes and furniture. Some nice things. They took those things out first before they set the houses afar, and said they set the curtains afar, and then of course the fire would go all around and burn the houses down.
Well, I sure thank you for this. That helps us tremendously with our report. And you've given me some good information, and I thank you very much for this. Kevin, you have anything to ask her? She's not a Booker T. Washington graduate, I know that. She finished in Texas.
We won't hold that against her.
Well, and some of the people, they said, walked all the way to Claremore in places, getting away from them.
Yeah, I heard that.
I've heard that. Yeah.
You hear anything about some black residents from Muskogee coming to Tulsa doing the race ride to help out the black folks? You hear any stories like that?
Say what?
We have heard stories that there was a black group of men called the Brotherhood of Africans, and there's a report that some of them came from Muskogee to help their black brothers who were under siege. Do you know anything about that? They were kind of the forerunner. They also contacted the NAACP and told them things that were happening here. Have you heard anything about the blacks in Muskogee who came here to help the blacks in Tulsa?
Well, I think he talked about it, but it was, I guess, kind of after the.
Oh, you're thinking after
Well,
the...
I don't know, but during the first part of it, I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
How long have you been a member of First, Ms. Holderness? How long have you been a member of First Baptist Church?
I've been a member of First Baptist Church 74 years.
74 years. Oh.
I came here in 1925, and this is 99, and I'll be 99 years old the 27th of September.
Between you and Miss Mabel Little, y'all holding down the fort of these churches in here in Tulsa.
What's that?
I said between you and Mabel Little, y'all holding down these churches here.
Oh.
She's over at Mount Zion. I think she's what,
at Mount
105?
Zion. I'm at First Baptist.
And Miss Gibbs got Vernon. So
Yeah.
they got it covered.
You sure do.
Well, tell me, do you know if First Baptist Church was damaged in the riot, or did it survive? Do you know anything about, First Baptist being destroyed?
First Baptist Church, when I came in 25, I joined First Baptist Church up on Archer Street. And it was built after the riot.
Oh, okay.
Although I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
But they had a mortgage on the church, and they foreclosed it because people wasn't making much money those days. But he and Goodwin, old man Goodwin, they paid the mortgage off of the church.
Wow.
And of course, they unlocked it, and the church was able to go on and use it. But, and then finally, when we bought a new church, built the new church on Greenwood, they put up the old church for sale. And my husband tried to get a group of people, blacks, to go in and buy it and convert it into apartments or something, because people were coming here from Suburban, Okmulgee, and things to work. And they didn't have apartments those days like they have now. They had to drive to and fro and just stay with different people in the home. But he couldn't get enough people to go in with it, so he borrowed money. There was a white fella here who used to loan money to churches and things. I don't know why I can't think of his name.
But that's okay. That's enough information that I need on. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we got to run on and do Eunice Jackson now.
Okay.
And thank you. That was real helpful.
Well,
You gave me some good information.
well.